Welcome to another moTV. This week we are going to Halifax. We've got a great lineup of people, guests, music. We've got Tim Brodie, moHost of moMondays Halifax. We've got Rhys Bevan-John, moHost of moMondays. Wait a minute. Can that be? Yes, and I'll explain it. And we've got Noah Tai, amazing musician. Stick around, grab a drink. My drink of choice is a bourbon, but I know some people on this call are already having a beer. If you want to have dinner, go have dinner. Be right back. Tim Brodie, how are you, sir?
I'm fantastic, Michelle. I really am. How are you?
I'm doing really well. Or as somebody on this call said about 5 minutes ago, I'm terrible but great. I paraphrase. Yeah, I know. Like what you gonna do, right?
Yeah, these are the days, aren't they? I saw something recently said, us folks in Nova Scotia are tough, but please quit making us prove it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, here we're moTV is not a replacement for a real live moMondays because, as you know, nothing is.
No.
But somebody's saying, "What's up? What's up, Hal?" Emily, I'm so glad you came on to the show. And listen, if you whoever's watching the show right now, do me a favor, do to me two favors. Wait long enough, I'll ask for three favors. But right now, put in the message box where you are tuning in from, and second, and your name. But no, we know your name. We know your name. Just where you're tuning in from. And second favor is let us know that the audio is good. I'm a stickler for audio. I've already done 15 tests, but one more will not hurt. So back to Tim. moTV is not a replacement for a real live moMondays. And I know so many people, you're one of them. We cannot wait to get back in the room with real live people because we are social animals. Some people are more social, some people are more animal, but you know what I mean.
I really miss it.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you miss the most about it?
I think the moMondays brand is such a distinguished kind of thing in that it brings folks together for laughs, for fun, for connection. I try to explain it by saying it's TED Talks, but it's not intellectual. It's inspirational and it's communal. I really miss the getting together, the seeing friends. I miss the hugs.
Miss the hugs.
Yeah.
Maybe while I was walking on the street, literally on the street, because there were people on the sidewalk, and I saw one person on the sidewalk on this side, one person on the sidewalk on this side, and they were obviously saying goodbye to each other, and they were doing this. I said, "What are you doing?" Air hugs.
Yeah.
So, that's going to be with us for a while. And I'll say this now. I'll say it again when we close the show. If I forget, please remind me. But it's really important for people to stay safe because the more isolated we can be at this point, the quicker we could get back together, which is what we all want.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't want to minimize your message at all, Michelle, because it's spot on and it's the right thing to do. But it's tough, isn't it?
It's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough, especially for people who are part of the moMondays community. You talk about what moMondays is for you, and that's that's a good description the way you said it, kind of like TED Talks, but not as intellectual. Dumbed down, is that what you meant? No, never mind.
It's inspirational, but it's communal.
It's communal.
I think that was the thing that most appealed to me about moMondays, especially here in Halifax, because it was the opportunity to get people together to start revealing the threads that are the tapestry of our community. And so there were the threads that came from someone in the police community, someone in the military, but then there were the threads that came from the person that was the artist, and the thread from Rhys Bevan-John, who's such a great performer, and then the music. I gotta tell you, I know, Michel, that you have a certain penchant and a leaning towards some of the music out your way, but I defy you to find better music than East Coast music.
Oh, no argument for me. Like it's like everybody plays. If you want to, if you had a tendency to be insecure with your guitar playing, just don't go to Halifax because like you know that song, there are, what is it, 1,535 guitar pickers in Nashville or whatever it is. Maybe Noah will be able to go. Noah, do us a favor. Google how many guitar pickers there are in Nashville, because I guarantee you there are more in Halifax.
Yeah, we are so blessed here, and the other aspect about it. So we've got great music, but storytelling is in our DNA here in the East Coast, and in fact, this isn't just hyperbole. If you look back to the year 1606, and it was in November, I think it was around the 15th, November 15th, 1606, Champlain created l'Ordre de Bon Temps, the Order of Good Cheer, and it was in order in the face of adversity, we would get around and tell stories.
I didn't. Wait a minute. How come no one has ever told that story at MoMondays?
Well, because we just take it for granted that everyone knows.
All right. So listen. Okay, I've got an idea between you and me, and hopefully Rhys is not listening right now, but we will recommend that he put on a Champlain outfit, and he used that for one of his opening shows. How about that?
I think he would knock it out of the park.
So
Just out of the park.
he's I'm so excited. Wait a minute. I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, wait a minute. Back up. I think it's important for people to know that moMondays Halifax, and people that are listening and watching this from all over. Somebody just said they're having a hard time hearing the guests. So, Tim, if you could turn yourself up, I don't know how. Or speak louder, I don't know. But moMondays Halifax has a long and storied history. It wasn't the first location outside of Toronto. That honor goes to Winnipeg. But it really was one of the very, very first ones to open up, and it's been going continuously, I think, for 6 years. Ravi Tangri was the first one to take it on. I apologize if people are listening. I'm not going to list everybody because it's gone through about 5 people. I think most recently was before you was Rachel Harrison.
That's right.
And it's been at a few different locations in Halifax, which in itself is, that's when you know there's a music town, because there are some towns where it's hard to find one good venue. But you have some really nice venues. I know I've spoken on stage there. I love the people. You meet the nicest people at moMondays. I'm not going to say especially Halifax because it's everywhere, but it's Halifax. Take me back, Tim, I always ask this question because people start moMondays for all kinds of reasons. And when people say, Michel, I want to do a moMondays, I try to scare them away. Do you realize how much work it is? Do you realize there's no money in it whatsoever? Do you realize that? And there's still some people who step up to the plate. And I kind of do it on purpose. But why? Let's go back to that time when some idea crystallized in your head and you said, Tim, let's do a moMondays.
Yeah. So, you know that I've been performing in the amateur world for a couple decades. My background, though, was that I was military for 30 years. Then I worked with the police for 5 years. I have a real soft spot in my heart for the folks that put on a uniform and serve. And I saw the moMondays platform as being a really strong platform for our folks that had been in service and had quietly gone underground as they suffered their wounds and injuries from post-traumatic stress and operational stress injuries. And I saw the moMondays experience as being a platform for allowing their voices to be heard, not to perpetuate post-traumatic stress, but to change it into post-traumatic growth, to incorporate those stories into that fabric that is the community.
Well, you said that so fast, Tim, but I want to pause on one thing you said. You called it post-traumatic growth.
Yes. Yeah.
You like next time you say it, please let that sink in, because that's a real. I know that's what you're about.
Yeah. Yeah. And so with the veterans that I work with, I said, I'm going to give you a platform to tell your story, but I don't want to hear about post-traumatic stress anymore.
Yeah.
I want to hear your story and what it was you learned from it so that you ended up growing. And I had the opportunity to work with some really great heroes. I spent a summer working with Romeo Dallaire, and his story from his latest book ends with his book was entitled "Waiting for First Light," and it tells about his journey through post-traumatic stress. And the last line of the book says, "My post-traumatic stress taught me the pain and sorrow that can be experienced on the human dimension, but with that learning came the first healing rays of love. And through that love came growth." And so I said to the guys, "You want to tell your stories? I want you to tell your stories, but we're not going to talk about misery anymore. We're going to talk about growth, and we're going to talk about healing, because your community needs to hear what you do for them. And your story needs to be normalized against the other stories. It's part of the fabric, and it needs to be woven in." But part of that, and I really want to emphasize this as well, because you emphasize this a lot, Michel. moMondays isn't about simply getting a bunch of sad hearts together once a month so that they can moan. And we've had some of the most wonderful, funny, uplifting stories coming from some of our first responders. In fact, I had an RCMP member that's told a story about a big bust, and the title of the story was something along the lines of, "Don't worry, Elizabeth's in the bathroom window."
Okay.
Yeah, and it was the story all about how they made this huge bust, and it was incredibly threatening and incredibly frightening. And it was back in the days when the wives used to do the dispatch for the folks out in the remote areas. And in the middle of this bust, one of the fellows came up and he said, "Don't worry about a sergeant. Elizabeth's in the bathroom window. She's got us covered." And it was the funniest story you could ever hear. So, that's the notion. It's not just about trauma and sad stories. There's joy, and there's laughter, and there's giggles, and so we've had moMonday shows with veterans that left us in stitches.
So, let me ask you this. Kind of like we do moMondays for a variety of reasons, and I hear you have soft spot for the people who put on a uniform and risk their lives and go through incredible experiences, and you want to use that to kind of help them get to their next stage of growth. Is there, and not that you have to give names or anything if you don't want, but I'm just wondering, can you think of an example of a one success story of someone who spoke on stage that maybe was, I don't know, it just helped them get to their next stage?
There's the thing. I don't think that the moMondays experience is for that. The moMondays experience, from where I'm sitting, was for folks that would inspire the folks that were in the audience to say, I can get there.
Yeah.
And so Ian McVicker comes to mind immediately. of the most powerful stories we've had on the MoMonday stage. Now, Ian was commanding officer of one of our very elite organizations in the Canadian military and had some horrific experiences. And he came up and he shared that experience on the MoMonday stage with the strong message that he is thriving and he is growing, and so can you. And so it was such an epic example of how the stories about positive growth need to be heard. And when he was telling his story, you could have heard a pin drop in the room. And we had a number of military and a number of first responders in the room, and I don't think that there was a dry eye because they were so inspired. And so I really, really think that that's the power of the MoMondays experience. It really, really is deeply personal, at times immensely funny, and at times immensely inspirational, but always communal. And by that I mean it weaves a tale that reveals who we all are as a community.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, so when one person tells their story, we start to recognize that we actually walk the streets surrounded by heroes. And I don't care if you're the guy that picks up the garbage, or the cop that puts on the uniform, or the mother that pushes the pram. We are surrounded by heroes, and that's what the MoMondays experience does. Reveals the heroes that we walk among. I think it's wonderful. You've done a great job at it.
Well, you know, Tim, can we speak honestly, just between you and me?
Well, just between you and me.
You have a way of deflecting all the praise onto the other people, and you've been so generous with me and complimentary. But let me tell you, you know, I say 75% of the success of any MoMondays has to do with the brand itself, and the other 75% has to do with the moHost. And you know, what you have brought, and it's always a reflection of the person behind it. And so what you have brought to MoMondays Halifax, like, let's be absolutely clear, is a reflection of who you are, Tim, and the things that have been important to you. And I've watched your videos, I've seen you in action and on the stage, and you've got such a warm, natural, relaxed feel to, you know what? Enough, Michel. Stop describing it. Let's show them.
First night in the military was in Trenton, Ontario, on my way to basic training in Cornwallis, Nova Scotia. And that was the night that I learned about military mess life. And I got so drunk. In fact, the train had started in British Columbia, and it moved its way across Canada until it got to Trenton, and it picked up people along the way. So there were shenanigans aplenty. And then our first night in Trenton, while we were waiting to catch a plane the next day into Shearwater, there was a lot of beer consumed. And that night, nicknames were created that would last a career. I was, they said, look, it's Budweiser. Yeah, drinking beer makes you smart. Look, it made Budweiser. Ha, 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 ha.
Okay, Bud.
Yeah. I had the gentle name. There were some really colorful names to spec with other guys for the rest of their careers. It was a good crew to be with.
So the theme of that talk was new beginnings.
Yeah.
And I just, like I say, I want to go back. I loved your natural, comfortable style. You're a natural storyteller.
Thank you.
Right? As we know, there are a lot of down where you are. And so you model it, and you are inspired by the best, I'm sure. new beginnings.
Yes.
You are you are leaving. I can't say it. You are leaving moMondays, but you're passing it on. And what I find so amazingly honorable about you is that you have taken it upon yourself to ensure the transition is smooth, like more than anybody in the moMondays history.
Well, that's it, Michelle. I want to make sure that you understand that I'm not leaving. I am passing it on, and it's just not my turn anymore. It's someone else's turn, and I have just so enjoyed this past year, and now it's time for someone else to enjoy it.
So tell me,
I'll be rooting for him all the way and supporting him as much as I can, but it's his turn.
and tell us about this gentleman, and I use that term loosely.
No, you don't. He truly is a gentleman. Rhys Bevan-John is someone who I met a couple years ago, and in fact, I think I told you, I was watching him for a couple hours, though I don't think he saw me at all. Because the very first time that I saw him, he was performing in a show, and it was it was the Christmas special that he does, and he does a one-man show. He plays all the parts in Christmas Carol, and it's amazing to watch him transform from one character to another. Seamlessly moving back and forth through dialogue. It's the most incredible thing I've ever seen in my life. And then I was at a conference, and this fella sits down beside me. I know you. His name's Rhys Bevan-John, and he's incredibly talented, gifted, warm, generous, and kind. I have to tell you, it's his turn, and I'm just so excited to see where he takes the moMondays.
Well, I went through the video archives and I checked him out too. I've had a few conversations with him on Zoom, and I share your enthusiasm. I'm very, very excited. So let's have a quick watch and a listen to this.
First night in the military.
My professional life, I've spent it all in the theater, and it's been a lot of fun, and I've been extremely lucky in my career as an actor. I once spent 3 weeks on morphine, dressed as a cockroach, performing for 300 kids on a daily basis. I had kidney stones. I was doing a kids show. I have traveled around the world performing a puppet show. And I once lived in the woods for 6 months with a mime and a ballerina. That's not the beginning of a joke. I lived in the woods for 6 months with a mime and a ballerina. Yeah.
All right. Rhys, welcome to moMondays.
Thank you so much, Michelle. It's a delight to be here.
Well, tell me something. You just watched yourself on video when you were speaking at moMondays.
Yeah.
What was that like? To watch yourself and go back to that moment when you...
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of fun. I had a lovely time at moMondays. So it's really quite nice to watch the video because I have really fond memories of the evening. And yeah.
You know, we've had a lot of people be moHost of moMondays all across the country and in the US. But we've never had someone who spent 3 weeks in the forest with a mime and a ballerina.
It's a pretty exclusive club, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I got to tell you, Rhys, that's all I needed to know. And I'm saying, okay, this guy's cool. This guy's cool. He takes risks. He puts himself out there, and he must have learned a lot. He must have grown a lot, and he must have discovered a lot about his own humanity. If from nowhere else than a mime and a ballerina. No, seriously, what did you learn?
It was some real Jedi stuff, Michelle. The kind of honestly, the basic idea behind the training was that your body is a projection screen onto which your inner emotional landscape is constantly being projected, whether you're aware of it or not. And so the training of mime is actually the training of the mind, and the body is only used as an indicator to what's going on inside your body, or sorry, inside your mind.
Yes. Yeah, no, that's very cool. Very, very cool. And that actually informs, I'm not unfamiliar with that concept. I've never heard it quite like that, but I teach that when I teach speakers about stage presence. And I say, people can read this on your face, whether you like it or not. And so if you want to have the right expression, you've got to have it in. Anyway, that's what I do. But it sounds like there's an overlap there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, and I've since learned what I learned is part of oh, sorry, that's my old cat.
Well, can we see your old cat? Can you pick your old cat up and?
Her nickname is Bagpipes
Because she's loud and she sounds like the bagpipes.
she's very loud and sounds like the bagpipes.
Somebody's going to war in your house. Oh wow!
Here's me old kitty right here.
Wow. Well, I only see the back of her head, but yeah, no, that's not her head either. I know the difference. I know the difference. Oh, Rhys, where'd you go? Yeah, there you are.
So that kind of philosophy is part of a tradition that is across a lot of different philosophies about how, basically synchronizing your insides and your outsides so that what's going on inside of you is congruent or
yeah, congruency. It's a NLP term that we use a lot.
Oh, groovy.
Yeah. So that's cool.
Gladwell's new book, he talks about how people aren't matched. A lot of us.
Oh, you read that too? Wasn't that a great book?
Yes.
But it kind of really contradicted, or wait a minute, it didn't really if it only contradicts it against cross cultures. If that's why you remember he used the spoiler alert, I guess, for people, but he said if you're watching the TV show and you're in a Western American society, then the faces match perfectly. But if you take that same scene, but you show it to, people in Papua New Guinea, for example, and you turn off the sound, they won't have a clue what. Anyway, fascinating. So it still works. It's just within a very tight cultural thing. It's not universal.
Yeah. And a lot of us too in the West, we've learned to really hide our motivations so that we're not, we don't just show what's going on. In fact, one of my old comedy teachers, he showed us, Candid Camera?
Funt, Ed Funt.
Right, he's the fellow who originally did it. He showed us the old 1950s Candid Camera, and he said, you gotta watch the old ones, because it's before people learned how to hide what was going on for them. And if you watch the old 1950s Candid Cameras, they're like perfect clown scenes. Things happen, and people give perfect... Like they do perfect, because you can see there's a direct correlation to their thought and their faces, but the more scrutinized I think we are by the media and everything like that, the more locked up and contracted we are. Anyway.
Well, okay. But wait a minute. I found the bridge to what we're talking about.
Sure.
You ready?
Here, lay it on me, brother.
No, all the more reason why we need MoMondays in the world.
Yes, definitely.
Come on. High five, please.
Yeah.
All right, yeah. Because, we need to feel human again, and we need to be transparent. And that's what I think one of the things that MoMondays allows us to. I'm so excited that you are taking over. I'm going to miss Tim. But we're not going to miss Tim because he's going to be there, he said. But I'm really excited about you.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm extremely excited too, and I very much hope that I hope that Tim can, as Tim said, he'll be there as much as he's able to, and I hope to continue through him to continue to have military people on and first responders, as well as people from the arts community that I'm familiar with, and also people from the mental health and the kind of wellness community that I'm friends with.
Well, let me ask you this, and you heard me ask Tim this, but I've been doing this for 8 years, and everybody has different personal reasons for wanting to start and they're always honorable, always wonderful, and if they're not aligned, then we don't take them. But what was going on for you? Like, what was in the back of your mind when you say, Rhys, I want to do this?
I think it's really, really important to have a space where we can celebrate the positive outcomes of going through challenging or negative life experiences. And I've gone through a lot of really negative life experiences, and I'm really, really dedicated to trying to live in a way that helps write a happy ending to those challenges. And I think it's really important to have a space like that, and I think it's an honor to be able to help create that space for people.
And you are all about performance. I mean, it's in your bio. It's like you said, you've been an actor for as long as you've been, almost as long as you've been alive. Like certainly your entire adult life, and I think your adult life started when you were 13.
That's what my grade 6 teacher said.
Yeah.
Oh. He said I was 13 going on 30.
Yeah, well, there you go. You see, so you're all about performance, and one of the things that was in the back, and this is one of the reasons why I'm genuinely excited about you taking it on, is that because MoMondays is not just a place for people to share stories like a night at the pub, although it has elements of that, but really to elevate the craft of storytelling to the level of performance. And I saw that in your talk, and I was really happy to hear that you had crafted it, you rehearsed it, you said you said it over to yourself 30 times or something like that. But yeah, we're elevating the art of storytelling to the level of professional entertainment. Yes?
Yeah, I'm all about it. I'm all about it. I think that, storytelling is, well, I mean, that's what we do as humans. We're storytelling machines, and we use, tons and tons of different mediums to do that. But this is storytelling just at its most basic.
So what's your big wish, your big hope for MoMondays in Halifax? What do you hope to bring and elevate it to, or the next thing, or whatever? What do you want?
Well, I think I'll just echo what I said before, a place where we can really celebrate and have fun. Do you know what? I heard a really nice saying once, no mud, no lotus. And I think it can be really, really helpful to know when you're in the mud that can be fertile ground for new growth. And also, when you're in that new growth, when you're enjoying that new growth, I think it's really special and really important to have a place where you can share the gratitude and the pride and the giddiness that comes with being in that place. And, so, again, for me, I think helping to create a place where we can celebrate that. And, I think that, for me, just a place to be able to celebrate those things.
Good. Well, I'm thrilled that you used the word giddiness, because there is a little bit of that at MoMondays. There, as you heard Tim say, there's a lot of laughter. There's a lot of everything. It's like it's a roller coaster of all kinds of emotions, and definitely giddiness should be one of them. And music is another aspect of MoMondays that's very important to MoMondays and interesting Halifax. Music is a huge part of Halifax. You know, here, I'll tell you something, let you inside secret here. I never wanted music to be part of MoMondays. And it was only because we had Stephanie in Winnipeg tell me after the fact that we had a musician here last night. And I said, oh, really? I don't know if that's a good idea. And then I watched the video and I thought, Michel, you're an idiot. This is like brilliant. And then we started spreading it out to all the MoMondays. And I'm so happy that we did that. Music is such an important part. It broadens the entertainment quotient at MoMondays, yes? And you've been to what, 4 MoMondays?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, something like that. I'm sure you could count.
I've been to 4 more.
4 MoMondays. And there's been a musician at every one?
Yes, definitely.
Yes.
Definitely.
And so when I asked you and Tim to recommend a musician for this moTV, both of you came up with the name of Noah Ty.
Noah Ty, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I went to our archives and I'd like to play some Noah Ty.
It's kind of in tune. This old girl's from 1934, so she gets a little cranky as soon as the lights come on her. Anyway, looks way better than I will when I'm 85. My friend Daphne, she's never looked okay to me. Spent a night, she was up crying. Can't waste your whole damn life trying to be a married man's wife. Hang up the phone, baby, quit redialing. The Jays, they can't win no games. I love them all the same. I guess it's how it was meant to be. You got no time for alibis. Time you wipe those weeping eyes. You gotta grow big, honey, like an old oak tree. Poor old Peggy Sue, never much that she could do. Spent her days, she dreamt of flying. Kids had grown and gone away. She climbed McDonald that day. Left us all scared but smiling. The Jays, they can't win no games. Maybe tonight I love them all the same. I guess it's how it was meant to be. And no time for alibis. Won't you hide those weeping eyes? You gotta grow big like an old oak tree. Oh, life's a game of win and lose. No matter the road you choose. I guess you're tired of crying. You're so tired of lying. You're tired of singing the same old blues. Poor old Kissin' Kate, she cried over every squished grape. I couldn't see the rest of the vine. One day the world came through, saw what she had to do. And now she's living, boys, and drinking wine, doing just fine. The Jays, they can't win no games. Yeah, I love them all the same. I guess it's how it was meant to be. And no time for alibis. You gotta hide those weeping eyes. It's time to grow big, like an old oak tree. Grow big for me. Thanks, folks. My name's Noah Ty. You see me around the streets. You might see me here every so often, too. Thanks for listening. Cheers.
Noah, welcome to moTV.
Oh, why, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you know what? I've watched that little clip over and over again. I love your playing. I love your singing. I love the lyrics. Your guitar looks pretty cool too. 1934, huh?
1934, yeah. That's a Kalamazoo. It was a off-brand of Gibson at the time. They had to come up with something during the Great Depression because people weren't buying Gibsons the same way that they were, so they made a lower-end line of Gibson. They called it Kalamazoo, which is where Gibsons were made.
Yeah.
But they only made it for 2 years, so.
Well, beautiful, beautiful. Explain that line. There's just like time to grow big like an old oak tree. There are lots of gems of lyrics in that song, lots of them.
Yeah.
But talk to me about what was behind you, that you're thinking in that one.
With that line, I think that's was a personal thing where it was some people just have to grow like a big old oak to weather some of the things that come at them, but it's all metaphor in music, but I don't know. Sometimes lines just write themselves. I just hold the pen, so that's sometimes one of them,
Beautiful, beautiful line. Beautiful song. Great song. And when you performed that at moMondays, when? In the last year?
I was trying to figure that out. Yeah, I think it was. Well, do you know how I know? It was probably May because my hair looks short, and I only get my hair cut once a year, it isn't cut right now. It's hidden behind, but it's way longer than it's ever been, and I can usually tell by my haircut at the time.
Once a year.
I'd say May.
Yeah, I cut my hair every day.
Wow. I don't. Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Every day I cut my hair.
I'm a once a year. My lady doesn't know me well, but she sees me usually in the spring. I don't know when it'll be next.
That's cool. So, did you perform at moMondays once, or more than? Was that just the once, or was that their second time?
Just the once. Yeah.
Talk to me what it's like, because I know you're a very busy musician during normal times. I ran into you, so for the listeners, I ran into you at an open mic when I was in Halifax. You were running the open mic. What's the name of that place?
Rock Bottom Brew Pub.
The Rock Bottom Brew Pub. Yeah. And I went with our mutual friend, Dan Doiron. I'd like to give a big shout out to Dan. Another awesome musician, eh?
Most definitely. Yeah, Dan's been around the scene forever.
A lot of heart.
Great guy.
I met Dan because I was on a motorcycle tour of Nova Scotia, and he happened to be playing in this little restaurant in Digby where, no, not Digby. Maybe no, it wasn't Digby. It was what's the town? I don't remember. Anyway, when you come down from New Brunswick and you go this way.
When you what, sorry?
When you come down from New Brunswick,
yeah,
and then you go east.
East, like Truro?
Yes, that's the one. Thank you. Truro.
Dan's a good Truro boy. I spent some time in Truro myself.
Yeah.
Or, no, I think Dan just lived in Truro. Maybe that's it.
Well, now he lives in Halifax, but...
Yeah, oh yeah. He lived right beside me for a while.
Yeah, and a great guy. Again, we were talking with Tim and Rhys about how many amazing musicians there are in Halifax, and
there's 1,352 in Nashville.
Oh yeah, you see, I wasn't far off. I said 1351. All right.
According to the Lemon Spoon.
Yeah, right.
But there's quite a few in Halifax.
Yeah.
Too. But I've been to Nashville a few times, and I'm here to tell you there's more than 1,352.
Well, that was back in the 70s.
It's true.
Yeah, but I also think he was just talking about one city block.
It's an amazing city. You'll leave and either want to practice every day or break your guitar.
Or yeah, I go through that every single day, regardless. Listening to you, I ask myself, why bother? Like, tell me what is it like, or if you could put yourself back in the headspace of where you were on stage at MoMondays. I know it's not like your typical pub. It's not like the Rock Bottom. It's not like the Lower Deck.
All great places to play for sure. But it's a different scene to. I mean, the Carlton stage where I was playing that night is certainly a nice stage to play. But you've got a Monday night and a crowd that's zoned in and listening to everything you say, which is not usually the case. At least not in the gigs that I'm used to playing. It's usually a little bit more of a rip-roaring affair, which is fine, and that's what we're looking for a lot of the time. But it's nice to sit down and tell some stories and be playing for such an attentive audience.
Yeah.
That are sort of soaking up everything that the nuances that I spend hours figuring out that most people don't notice. It's one of those things.
Oh, wait a minute. Let's you got me curious. The nuances that you spent hours and hours figuring out that most people don't notice because you've spent so long figuring them out.
Well, maybe it's the little chord changes or the lyric turns of phrase and stuff like that where I spend my time, figuring out little turns of phrase, grow big like an old oak tree kind of stuff, where that line goes by pretty fast when you're in a room full of whatever, 100 people having fun. Anyway, it's nice to play those places that people soak in the lyrics and the tunes.
Yeah, now I know you also perform at places where it's more of a concert setting. I know, but I'm wondering, did performing at MoMondays enable you, or encourage you to stretch your storytelling as a musician a little bit?
Well, yeah, you can sort of spend a little more time explaining those stories where otherwise, you're, when's he gonna play? Is the first thing, it's the first thing you hear or think or look at somebody. So you're not rushed to dig right into another tune quite so quickly. You can spend some time and elaborate on, where your headspace was, or, what color, the sun was that night, or what have you.
Well, I'm telling you, Noah, you are welcome at any MoMondays that you ever happen to be near in your travels.
All right. Monday night's a hard night to fill some nights. So it's a great thing.
Yeah, so really seriously, I think you exemplify the level of professionalism that I hope we all get all the time at MoMondays. Okay, then. I'll tell you what. Let's.
Are a little self-deprecating.
Yeah.
It's where
let's bring Tim and Rhys back in and have them be part of the conversation here. There they are. So, gentlemen, you see, there's that word again. And I use that term loosely.
Oh, hey, Michel, I just want to do a bit of strutting here before you sign us out. Don't we have a good crew?
Amazing.
I am so happy to have had this all come together, and look, I know there's great stuff going on the other MoMondays platforms, and MoMondays show, but if you're ever in the Maritimes, make sure you catch a MoMondays Halifax. It's the thing to see, the thing to do, the place to be. It's fantastic.
Well, you know, I've been saving up a question that I wanted to ask you, Tim, that I wanted Rhys in the room for and Noah in the room for, but I'm asking this question of you. You know, you may have heard me say this before. I think moHosts have the best seat in the house because we get to walk with the speaker long before they get to the stage. We get to watch them on the stage. We get to walk them off the stage, and we get all the feedback both from them and the audience about the impact that they've had after their talk. And we don't go through that experience unscathed. It changes us. So I'm curious how you think you've been changed as a result of doing MoMondays month after month from the beginning.
Yeah, you know, it's one of those things where I don't think. No, it's not that I don't think. I know this for a fact. My being in this role at MoMondays has increased the number of friends I have exponentially. And because every one of the speakers became a friend, some that I valued, some that I treasured. The people that sit in the chairs and enjoy the MoMondays experience, they get to experience 10, maybe 12 minutes with these incredible storytellers. But I got to chat with them before, I get to connect with them after, they become a part of my life, and I become so enriched by it. I have to tell you, I know that I'm handing over to the right person because I know that Rhys is the kind of individual that will see the treasures and see the gifts that he's been given. I'm just so I'm so looking forward to seeing how it unfolds with him.
Well, you know what? I'm doing a bit of double duty here, Tim, and I'm watching the comments on the Facebook. And photographer Grantley Gibbons, who was a photographer at MoMondays Toronto for almost since the beginning, and before Toronto, he was photographer at moMondays Niagara. He says, no, in large caps. He wrote, no, the photographer has the best seat in the house.
And you know what? I have to tell you, this is only part of the experience. I've got East Coast Music Award winner Scott Ferguson doing our videographer. He's our videographer. I've got a guy who's an actual serving RCMP member who comes in, and his experience for managing his operational stress injuries is to take the pictures.
Oh wow!
So he does a fantastic job. We've got a really, really, really big team that works behind the scenes on this, and it's just. I'm going to miss that part of it, but to watch Rhys have this experience is just going to warm my heart.
Well, excellent. And Noah, you'll be back. Yes.
You let me know.
You said you'd be back in the audience at the end of that video. I heard you.
It's true. You called me.
Yeah. All right. Listen, I want to thank you guys for being on the show. This has been great. This has been a reasonable facsimile of a real MoMondays. I'm getting to like this for its own value, but I can't wait to get back to human. All right, let's see if I press the right button here. Yes, I want to thank you guys for hanging out with us for a little bit this Monday evening at moTV. Next week, we are headed to Toronto. I know. You know that I live in Toronto, and we're headed to Toronto because we've been going from coast to coast to coast to coast, checking out all the moMondays all over. And next week, I think it's going to be our last moMondays. And Tim's doing eyeball things to me. It's going to be our last moTV. So our last, Tim, stop that. Next week will be the last, how do I say this? Oh my God. Let me have a drink. Next, we've been running through all the moHosts from across the country. Next week will be the only moHost we have not done yet, and it will be in Toronto. So make sure you show up next Monday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll see you back here. Thank you very much. Oh, t-shirts. You meet the nicest people at moMondays. It's true. You know how I know it's true? Because it says so right here. You could get your t-shirt if you go to momondays.com, click on the store and order your t-shirt. Awesome. See you back here next week.